right into the walk across the page. So if you're using this as a video walkthrough, please at this time go ahead and open up the instructions. You can find this in the project folder for the module we are currently in. Alright, you got it? Okay, let's jump right on in. So first thing we're going to do, 1280 by 720 per the usual. We're going to come to frame rate, 24 frames a second. This should say Action Script 3 by default. If it doesn't for whatever reason, make sure it says Action Script 3, and then we're going to press Create. First things first. I'm going to make sure for this particular one I'm using Timeline Top. We're not going to have that many layers. So just to make this interface a little bit more accessible. If your interface does not look like mine for whatever reason whatsoever, go ahead and pause now. If you don't have access to the video that takes you through how to set up this workspace, go ahead and ask for it. This will be really important so you can find what you're looking for really easy by just looking at my screen here that I'm recording. Okie dokie. So, with that, we're going to go to File, Save As. This is really important to save our files before we begin at any given time. That way, if something crashes, it'll have a place for the recovery saves to go, number one. And number two, if you don't, and it crashes, you've just lost all that work. It's a lot easier just to press Command S or Control S on PC as we go. So, I'm saving this to my desktop. Please do not save it to your desktop. Please save it to Year 1 animation, the correct module, the correct project folder, which is walk across the page. Okay, make sure it's going there from the get-go. And this should be your name. Mod. This might change depending on what module I'm teaching this in, but this year it's Mod 3. And this is Proj 4. Walk. We're going to actually abbreviate this. Walk across the page. WAPT. And, super important, underscore V1. This is our first version. Again, every hour we're going to press Command-Shift-S or Control-Shift-S on PC, and we're going to take this to the next number. So if you start on 1, you change it to 2. If it's on 2, you put it to 3, so on and so forth. That way, if something crashes or corrupts, and it really is a matter of when, not if, you're only losing like an hour's worth of work instead of multiple hours or days even. So go ahead and get that saved. From there, we're going to rename Layer 1 Guidelines. Okay, so on the ground, we're going to draw a blue line, and we're going to make it equally sized, and we're going to put these markers across the page. I think for this it's actually easier to use the line tool. You can use the brush tool, but I think in this instance, if you're worried about your fills eating one another for any given reason, this can be a little bit easier. And we're going to start with blue. Now we're going to use blue for the back foot. Now see right here I just changed it, it's on the bucket, but because I'm using the line tool I need to change my stroke color, because lines work in strokes. In the properties panel I can change the width of my line. I think I'm going to change it just to 4. I think that'll suit me pretty well. Okay, and from there I'm going to draw some lines across the bottom of the page. Now I would like for you to draw at least 5. Okay. And right now they're not exactly equally spaced, they're not even exactly in line with one another. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to hold Shift and Alt, which is Option on a Mac. Shift will keep it in line with one another, Alt duplicates it, or Option if you're on a Mac. There we go. You can have this be a lot smaller. You can have a lot smaller of these. So if you're looking to challenge yourself, make smaller lines and then have maybe 9 of them on the page instead of 5. For the sake of this, I'm going to make 5. Now with these done, I'm going to hold Alt again. I'm going to drag out a set of copies. So what I did there is I clicked and dragged over all of them to select all of them. Holding Alt, Option on a Mac, and clicking and dragging. Okay, and I'm just offsetting them a little bit and a little bit further down. Now, while they're still selected, I'm going to come to my color panel and I'm going to make them red. Red is for the front foot. Okay, so at this point it should look a little something like this. Now, to make my life a little bit easier, I'm probably going to put one on each side over here. So my character has space to go off the sides of the page. So these will be our guidelines for where our feet are going to touch. Okay. From there, we're going to make 3 more guidelines. I'm going to come back to my line tool. The first one is going to be orange. So I'm going to make an orange line. Right here. Then I'm going to make a green line. Okay, and finally I'm going to make a purple line on top, in this order. I want them to be about equally spaced. So the reason we need these 3 lines is that this is going to tell us where our hips and later our heads are going to fall vertically on certain poses. So in this case, green is where we'll have contact and passing poses. So in this case, I'm going to click on here. I'm going to steal this green. So all I did was I switched to my bucket, clicked here. All I have to do is tap on the green. With my brush tool, I'm going to write a note. This is on contact. And approximately passing. I'm going to write that over here a little bit. Now, in orange, I'm going to write down. Okay, and then in this purple, oops, didn't mean pen tool. Undo. Redo, I guess. There we go. I'm going to write up. Contact down, passing up. Contact down, pass up. Contact down, pass up. Contact down, pass up. Those are our, essentially, our main poses. And this will tell us where the head, first we're going to start with hips, where the hips will fall, and then again later where the heads will fall. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to right click on guidelines and change it to a guide layer and then lock it so I don't edit it. I do not want to animate on this layer whatsoever. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to layer 2. And I'm going to type in here, rough Anim. Okie dokie. And just for the moment, I'm going to temporarily lock this layer. Oops, there we go. Alright. Now I'm going to make one more layer up top. This will be pretty important. I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see my keyframes clearly. Okay. You're probably going to want to zoom in too. We're going to name layer 3 notes. Okay? So at the very minimum, in order to see our notes correctly, you're going to want to come here and go to at least medium. We can come larger than that if you need. I'm going to come in extra large, just so it's super easy to see on the video. Okay? We're going to make 9 keyframes. One right after the other. So there's 1 that's already there by default. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Then what we're going to do is let's click on frame 1 here. If you're worried about your notes vanishing or guidelines vanishing, remember, gotta come down here, press F5. Okay, so you can see the whole thing. This animation is going to be longer than this amount of frames, but just to start, oops, accidentally moved my keyframes there. Just to start, we're going to start with this and then we're going to copy paste. We're going to click on frame 1, we're going to come to our properties panel. Now, depending on what you're clicked on, your properties panel is going to show something different. If I click on the stage, it's going to show the properties for that stage. If I click on frame 1 of notes, it's going to show the property for that frame. If I click on the layer, it's going to show the properties for the layer. So keep that in mind. It's really important. Click on frame 1 first. come over here to where it says label. If you don't see label, you can just unfurl it. And in name, we're going to type C1 and then press enter. Now you can see here there's a note that says C1. No one can see that but us. Okie dokie. Here, we're going to write D1, enter. Next one on frame 3, we're going to write P1. Frame 4. It's going to be U1. Frame 5, C2. Frame 6, D2. Frame 7, P2. Frame 8, U2. And then from frame 9, actually, let's backtrack. We only need 8 frames. Let's remove those. Sorry about that. I will actually change that in the instructions. Okay, so now we have 8. So the reason I didn't need that extra one is guess what we're going to do? We're going to count how many of these steps there are. So this is going to swing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, abouts. We'll see how many we end up needing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag. And I'm not clicking and then dragging. Okay? Click off, click, drag seamlessly. Right click, we're going to say copy frames. Come out to here, we're going to say paste frames. 1. So we have 1 set, 2 set. Paste frames 3 set. Paste frames 4 set. And let's go ahead and paste 1 more. Paste frames 5 set. So all in all, with the spacing I have, looks like we're going to take about 40 frames with this on 1s. We're going to end up putting it on 2s, except for march time. But there we go. Okay, so this will get us set up pretty well. Alright, so with that in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to lock the notes layer and we're going to unlock rough Anim. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're only going to draw the contact poses. Not drawing the downs, not drawing the ups, not drawing the passings. Okay, there's a very particular order we animate in, from generic to specific. In this case, we can consider the contacts our keys, the absolute bare minimum to show that a character is walking. Now we're going to keep this really simple, okay? I'm going to choose a gray for the hips. Okay, we're just starting with the hips. Okay, so I'm going to draw a circle and it has to be on this green line. Okay, so here's my hip. You can have like a box if you wanted. I find something more organic is a little bit easier to work with. You know, you could have something rounded like this, that's fine. If you have a hard time doing solid drawing, use a circle. Okay, it's a lot easier to draw a circle of the same size over and over again than other things. Now this is really important. Okay, in red, we're going to draw our front foot. Okay, so in this case, turn back the calf. This front foot is going to be up here. If you have a really hard time drawing legs, okay, just draw two ovals and a triangle for a foot. Okay, that's really all you need. You can make this more complex by drawing the top of the thigh, back of the calf, so on and so forth. But if you really struggle with these underlying forms and keeping them consistent, keep to these simple shapes. Just 4 shapes with the hips there, and then in blue, we're going to draw the back leg. So our thighs are going to be about the same size as are our calves. Okay. We're going to have part of the triangle, but it's going to come off and make here on this back leg a rectangle and then another triangle at the foot to show that the heel is up. Okay? Now what I like to do on this back foot, blue is for back, red is for front. You can remember that because red has an R in it, front has an R in it. Blue for back, B and B. And I'm only going to shade in the things where the leg is solid. So in this case, not in the hips, not where it overlaps the other leg. That can help visualize what's in front and what's in back. Okay. Now we're going to come to C2. F6, delete. We're not going to move this and reuse it, because guess what? We don't just step forward with one leg, right? Unless we're limping. We have to use both legs, so now the legs have to switch. So I'm going to turn on onion skin. I'm going to come back to my same gray. And now I'm going to put the gray here. See how it was in between these two lines? Now it's going to go in the next in between over here. Okay. If you have a hard time drawing a circle, just draw over itself a few times while you look at the other circle, and you'll get something pretty approximate to that. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to draw the leg that was on this one first, just because this is where the toe is going to come down. So this foot is going to be in the same place here. Okay, so here's the toe. It's going to come down to here. Okay, so just having that marked there can help. Okay. This leg, see how these ovals look very similar? That's what we're after here. Do the same thing with the back of the foot. It's going to be off the ground, and then we're going to have a rectangle connecting the shapes. So we have heel up, toe down. Okay, so this foot is our ground foot. Alright, and the other one was our stepping foot. The other one was doing the stepping motion. This one stayed on the ground. Okay, now we're going to draw the blue this time. And this time it's going to be opposites. Blue is going to be in front, coming forward. Red is going to be backward. Okay, I'm going to try and keep the same amount of overlap here. Okay, in this case, heel is there. And the foot is now on that next line. Okay, now we're going to repeat to the next C1, F6 delete. Do not copy paste from the first C1, please. I want you to try and redraw. If it helps, move your onion skin back so you can see that original one. Okay, now again, we're going to the next gap here. This is where our circle's going to be. So let's get our hips placed first. Super important. That's not quite in the middle of those lines. I'm going to just nudge it forward here. Okay. Click off so don't change the color. So now B, this one is going to have the toe come down. So I'm going to start here. So here's where the toe would be. Find it easier to get this back foot on here first. Okay, trying to draw the same shapes here. This oval is actually a little short. So I'm going to elongate it first. I think that angle's a little much. There we go. There can be a slight bend in the knee if you want. Or if you want, you can draw it straighter. That's fine. If it helps, you can draw a big stick that you follow first. But again, remember, this heel has to be up off the ground. I think in this case, I need my thigh to actually come in a little bit more. There we go. Now things are fitting a lot better. You can see where it ends down here, so that should be the approximate height. Oops, I forgot to do something on C2, and this was just to kind of roughly shade in the parts of the back foot that we can see. Okay, back to C1. Uh-oh, let's see here, I had an object drawing it looked like. Where are you? There we go. So what happens there is object drawing gets turned on sometimes. Come to properties panel. We're just going to make sure object drawing is off. Perfect. Don't want object drawing. Object drawing is not our friend. There we go. Alright, so we're going to switch to red. Okay, now the red foot is going to be our passing foot, or stepping foot, however you want to think of it. Okay, this one here is a little bit long. So, I'm not sure it's going to reach that next marker. It's okay, I can have it be approximate. Okay, and this is going to be heel down, toe up, the opposite of the other one. It's going to look a little funny because the gait's changing. The other thing too is I can see that this foot's a little big. I'm going to change that size. Go to C2, F6, delete. Again, we're going to make sure we're coming to the next gap. Okay, we're going to place our hips. Okay, let's go to the red. This foot is the one staying down. Toe's going to come down to here. And draw that toe, it's just a reminder. Okay, again, I'm trying to make this shape about the same size as this and this. A little thick there, so I'm going to delete that. Okay. Ankle will be ending about the same height. Then some width there. I'm going to bring that toe forward just a smidge. Coming out to our other foot, onto the next blue line. Just kind of shading in what isn't overlapping, just so we can tell what's in front and what's not. On to the next C1, F6, delete. Again, coming to this next gap, almost there. Okay, in this case, this leg is going to stay behind, that toe is going to come down. I think I need to move this over so it's more in the middle here. Connecting up. Super messy. I would use more organic shapes here, but again, I'm just trying to showcase that you can do this with the simplest of shapes. Okay, now we need to get them off the side of the page, so we're going to come to this last C1 here. 6, delete. Our circle there for the hips. Reds, oops, come back here real fast. Consistent. Okay. Now reds in the back. So what I just did there, I made schmutz. I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay. So tiny rectangle, triangle. Okay, this next one's here. Follow that blue line. Alright, so this is the bare minimum that we need for something to walk. We can see it walks pretty fast. So a little bit of a jump there at the end. You can see every time there's an output, if you get an output window, just stick it next to your timeline and then you can just jump right back to your timeline there. So the reason there's a little gap there is because we have this extra set of keyframes here. I don't think I need this many, so I'm going to just remove those. Okay. So only once our contacts are done are we going to go to the next pass through this. Ironically, that's for the passing pose. Okay, so I'm going to come to P1, press F6, then delete. Now the passing pose has a very specific look. We want to make sure that we're making it look that way. So I'm going to come back to my gray. So now I'm going to draw the passing pose. Okay, the easiest way just to start with this is to have your circle here, put it right in the middle of your other two circles, about at the same size. What I would do then is I'd actually select it, I'd nudge it up just a little bit above that green passing line, not to up, but just slightly there, just slightly above. If you have a hard time doing that, you can leave it on the passing line. It'll look believable enough. So now what we have to do is we have to ask ourselves, which foot is staying on the ground? Hint, it's the one closest here on both sides to the hips. Okay, this will be red, so we're going to put the thigh here right in the middle of the circle, calf right in the middle of the circle. this heel is going to be in the same place, and the toe's going to come out to the same place. Okay, so see how this toe comes down? I'm lining up the heel. That's important to make sure this looks. So in this case, this is our stepping foot because this one stepped down. And the other one is our passing foot. So when in passing pose, what happens is our legs get put into a figure 4 pose. So again, I'm trying to make this thigh the same shape as over here and as over here. If you have a hard time visualizing that, you can draw them on either side, then undo, and then try to draw it yourself. So again, if you have a hard time visualizing what it should look like, draw, and then do it yourself. Okay. And then this is going to bend back into a figure 4. And this triangle foot is just going to be pointing down. Now this is where shading in, where there isn't any overlap, can really help visualize what's in front and what's not. Because at that point, if it's still confusing, you can come in here with an eraser and you can kind of clean up the blue from the inside of the red leg, if you so desire. That helps you visualize a little bit more. Okay. So there's our first passing pose. All right, let's go to the next one, P2. F6 delete. Okay, I'm gonna adjust my onion skin so I'm only seeing from the last contact to the next. That way I don't confuse myself. Okay, again, we're gonna start by drawing our circle hips. I'm gonna make sure these are right in the middle. Now that it's drawn, I can reposition it right in the middle. And I'm just gonna nudge it up a few frames, not to the up line, but just slightly above the green line. Okay, in this case, we have to ask ourselves, I don't know what I just did to my smudges, apologies. Which leg is our stepping pose? Again, it's the one that's closest to the middle. In this case, now it's blue. It is going to alternate every time. So again, we're going to draw the blue thigh. Draw the blue calf. Again, our heel's going to line up and our toes are going to line up. Okay, that means our passing leg is our red one because it's furthest away and it has to travel. So again, we're going to draw thigh oval, calf oval, and foot. Come back here to the blue and we can kind of sketch in what we do and don't see. Again, if it helps, you can erase the blue from inside the red because that leg's in front. All right, and we're going to repeat that with all our other passing poses. Again, F6, delete. Come to the gray. Sketching that. Once we're happy with the size, we can move it in the middle, and then we're just going to nudge it up just a little bit. We're going to ask ourselves which foot's our stepping foot. In this case, it's red again. Oops. Click off, go back to red, switch to brush. Now, even this knee is following an arc, so if you're having a hard time placing the knee, that can be an easy way to just quickly visualize it. Just come down. Come back a little bit here, because our heel goes there and our toe goes to here. Okay, we're going to put blue leg in passing pose. I'm going to shade in. Doesn't overlap, so we can visualize what's in front. If it helps, again, you can clean up the blue from the inside of the red because red is in front. Let's go to P2, the next P2, F6. I'm going to move over here, press delete. Again, come to gray. I'm going to draw this gray circle in the middle. Don't like that, I'm going to undo and redo. Get this as in the middle as possible. Nudge it up just a little bit. Blue is now our stepping foot. So we're going to draw blue. If it helps, you can draw the foot first, then the calf. I think that makes a little bit more sense to me. So you can place the calf a little bit easier. Come to red. Red is going to go into figure 4. here, shade. Doesn't overlap. Technically, you could like erase all that as well if you wanted to. I don't think it's necessary for this. It's just a really fast exercise. All right, let's come to the next P1. It's supposed to be C2. Okay. Again, come to gray. From the middle. Nudge up. This time red's our stepping foot. Blue's our passing. Put it into figure 4. Not my neatest or prettiest walk cycle here. Again, I'm just trying to hurry through this so this video doesn't take forever. Please take more care with your work. Okay, perfect. All right, we're done with our passing poses. So now if I press Command Return, see, it feels a little bit more like a walk. I do have a little bit of schmutz on one frame. Let's find that schmutz right here. Get rid of it. There we go. All right, so next pass is our down pass, and we do not do this until we have our contact pass, our passing pass, and now we can do our down pass. So we're gonna press F6 delete. Okay, we're gonna come back to our gray. We're gonna draw this again. Here's a way to do it where it's a little bit easier, where we can draw it right in the middle and try to get it about the same size. But then on the passing pose, or I'm sorry, the down pose, see, remember orange is for down? We gotta select this and we gotta move this down. Now the reason for this is on the down pose, this is where we start falling and we catch ourselves. Walking is just continuously falling and catching ourselves. That's literally the physics of walking. So in this instance, our foot, we have to figure out our stepping foot again. It is red. We can tell because it's the one on the ground, not the one in the air. Okay, and we're gonna make sure this foot is down. Okay. All right, and this leg is going to bend to take the weight from the fall. Now, the blue leg, we're gonna in between. So here's the angles here, so we can kind of in between that angle, if that helps to visualize. Okay, this is gonna pop up so it can go into that figure 4, but it's not there yet. Okay, you can see it, the foot lift off out of that bent toe. All right, there's our first down. Let's go to the next one. D2, F6 delete. I'm gonna adjust my onion skin here. Okay, we're gonna draw the hips first. Wrong gray. Draw it in the middle, helps to do, select it, move it down. Okay, now this time blue is our stepping foot. I'm gonna draw the foot first. It's going to be in the same position. Oops, that's accidentally turned. Yep. And again, this has to swing forward and then back. The leg is bending to take the weight. In this case, we're going to in between the angle here of the red leg, and it's going to pop back. So it can get ready to go into the figure 4. And this foot is going to have come up off of its resting position back there. Okay. Now I can also shade in. It doesn't overlap. Again, to help visualize what's in front and what's not. Okay, to the next down pose. F6 delete. If this is not the first time or second time or third time you're watching this and you're using it as a guide, feel free to skip forward using the arrow keys to the spot that you need. Okay, so again, we come into here. Select that. We're going to move it to a down pose. And we want this circle to be right in between the other two. Red is back to being our stepping foot. I'm going to click off before I switch my color. I'm going to draw the foot first. Remember, it's going to be on the red line, not the blue line. This has to bend to take the weight. This blue leg, again, we can in between these angles. And it's going to have just popped up off the ground, so it can be ready to go into figure 4. Okay, to the next D2, F6 delete. Select this, move it down, click off. It's a little too far forward. I'm going to move it back so it's more in the middle of the other circles. Alright, blue is our stepping foot this time. Boop, boop, boop. Again. Oops. Did it again. There we go. The blue leg's gotta bend so we can take the weight. Okay, again, we're gonna in between these red angles. This leg's gonna pop up out of its position. It's getting ready to go into figure 4. Okay, 2 more down poses for examples here. So, D1. Draw our circle. Move it down and in between. Reds are stepping this time. Draw the foot first. Make the red leg bend. Again, these parts are the same size. They're just rotating to fit. Again, we're going to in between these angles. This leg is going to pop up. Again, ready to go into figure 4. I'm going to call it good there for the sake of our here. So there we go. Feels a little bit more like a walk now. It's way too fast. Again, we're going to put this on 2s here soon. That's okay. All right. Last but not least, we have our F6 delete. I'm going to adjust my onion skin so I only see 1 frame to either side. I'm going to come here to gray. We're going to draw the circle right in between. Try and get it at the same size, and we're going to select it and we're going to move it up. Okay. If you feel comfortable sketching it there in the middle and touching the upline, go for it. This is just a method for those who might find it really tricky to do that. Click off, switch to red, B for brush. This heel is going to be in a halfway position, toe's going to be in the same place. Okay, we're going to in between our stepping foot, which is still red. And these shapes are literally just going to be right in the middle of one another. Okay. We're going to come to blue. Same thing here. The shape is going to be here. Now if we imagine an arc here connecting the bottom of the leg, we can draw the calf on the middle of the arc. It's going to be a little bit more bent. Put a foot on it. Let's have a lot more. There we go. So you don't want to leave the arc there if you draw an arc, so you might want to go through and erase any other blue it's touching, and then you can just kind of select it, press delete. Okay, so there's 1 up done. Let's do up 2, F6 delete. Alright, gray. Draw, 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 circle, circle, circle. Don't like that one, Command Z. So whenever I'm drawing, I'm having my non-drawing hand on Command Z. Or Control Z if you're on a PC. That's really important because you want to be able to work fast and efficient. If you can't do that, you're going to have a really hard time animating. So keeping your non-dominant hand on Command or Control Z is really, really good practice, and something I will require in my class, so practice it. Again, your heel's going to be halfway between, toe's going to be in the same place. Did it change the color of that again? It did. Problem with that gray is it blends in with the little dots, so we don't always see it. Okay. Red is now the one in passing position, or it's swinging down now to come into place. So again, I'm just trying to get this leg approximately in between this one and this one. If you're having a really hard time drawing circle forms, you can draw the insides, you know, think of them as bones like this. Draw that, and then when you're done, throw your ovals on top, so you're drawing forms, not shapes, and then you can erase them. Let's fill this in. Where there's no overlap. Just show where there's no overlap. Okay, next ups. Gray. To the up line. Okay, reds are stepping foot this time. Heel is halfway up, toes in the same place. Toes coming through. Again, if you need to draw an arc, you can. One thing to note is that if this isn't perfectly in between, it's going to have a slow in or slow out effect. So if this is closer to here, it's going to speed through into this pose. If it's closer to this one, it's going to slow and speed into this one. So keep your eye out. We're not trying to do anything on purpose here or anything super specific other than approximately the middle. But keep an eye out for that because it's an interesting learning experience to see that actually happen before your eyes. Small. There's no happy medium. Okay, there we go. Switch into my stepping foot, which is blue again. Heel's going to be halfway between them. This toe is slipping. You want to avoid toe slippage, so the idea here is that whenever we're drawing, we're trying to get our toes in the exact same spot on all of our stepping feet. Doesn't always happen. That's where we would go back and fix it, but for the sake of this example, so I'm not spending hours and hours and making you sit through that, I'm not going to do it in this. Okay. Red foot swinging forward to come into that position. Put that in. One last up. Reds are stepping foot again. Halfway between procs. Now this onion skin thing might look really hard to look at to start, and really hard to know where to draw because there's so much visual information at once. So what's really important is that you just kind of focus on one body part at a time and you ignore the other parts. So when I'm in betweening the calf here, I'm only looking at the other calf ovals. I'm not looking at all the other shapes. I'm not thinking of this as a whole. I'm thinking of it as in parts. That's the only reason I can do it. Otherwise I'd go cross-eyed. There. I'm racing down here a little bit just to keep the forms consistent. All right, let's check out our walk. Super fast, but we have our ups and our downs. There we go. So here is our first pass. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna stick this on twos. So I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller here. I'm gonna come down, F5, come down, F5, come down, F5, come down, F5, come down, F5. Oops, put that up in there. And I wanna do this with my notes too, because guess what? We're not done. No, no, we just completed 1/3 of this project, and only 1/3. There is more yet to do. Boop, boop, and boop. So let's check the timing again. Command return. Do the same on your project too, so you can see your beautiful creation in motion. Yeah, look at it go. Not a care in the world. Okay, so with that, what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to timeline. We are going to select both of these layers, and we're going to say duplicate. Okay. We're going to name this rough. We're going to rename rough Anim to rough hips, so rough hips 1, and notes to notes 1. We're going to change rough Anim to rough hips 2, notes to notes 2. So this is our second round. Okay. Now we need one more layer here. And this is going to be torso with arms. 1. Let's keep the numbering consistent. So we don't have a 1 layer here. I'm just naming these all 2 so you can see them all here. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to select all of these just by shift clicking. All I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down on the timeline just by clicking and dragging. So it all starts after our first pass ends. Now you'll notice here, our guidelines vanish. That's okay. What we're going to do here is we're going to press F6 to basically duplicate the guidelines, because we're going to change something on them now. So only on this keyframe, not on the previous one, we're going to unclick here. We're going to switch to our selection tool. We're going to select only these top ones, and we're going to move it up to where the head will go. This is now for the head instead of the hips. Okay? We're going to lock the guidelines. I'm going to scroll up here. I'm going to adjust this so I'm not looking at my keyframes from my previous pass, just so I don't confuse myself. I'm going to scoot over now, and I'm going to unlock torso with arms too. So using the same gray, I'm going to zoom in. We're going to draw a very simple torso and head. So I'm going to draw the head, and the head is going to be on the passing pose. And then there's going to be a torso connecting into the hips. This torso can be as wide as you want, it can be skinny, it can be boxy, however you want. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to keep it another circle here. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of connect the head with a neck. Super duper duper simple. Now we're going to draw the arms on only our contact poses. Okay, so let's start with red. Our arms are opposite of our legs. So 2 ovals and a hand circle is going to be this. Okay, you can also simplify this as just like a big rubber hose arm if you so desire. It's totally fine. Because I'm doing this blocky stuff with everything else, I'm going to keep this. Okay, so arms swing in opposition to legs. That means if the red is in front, the red foot's in front, the red arm is in back. Okay, keep that in mind. Because once we get to passing poses, it can be a little bit confusing to know what goes where. So keep in mind you have to know where that opposition is. And sometimes you have to kind of skip through your animation a few frames ahead and a few frames back to make sure you're not getting confused. Gonna come to blue. Okay. This arm is going to go the opposite direction. Okay. And again, I'm going to shade in only where there's no overlap. Because remember, blue is in back. This is technically behind the torso. But I want to draw through to start. And I want to keep that drawing through there so I can see the underlying form. So let's go to contact 2. F6, delete. Uh-oh, we lost our guidelines. That's okay. we're going to do here is we're going to come down to the end of that first animation, F5. Bada bing, bada boom. Now we can see it. Back to contact 2. Switch back to the gray. Draw our head. We're going to draw torso. Draw the neck. Okay. You can pick whatever arm. I'm going to start with red because that's what I did last time. So red legs and back. Red arm is now in front. Now notice here it's also in front in terms of the torso. It's on the front half this time because that shoulder swung forward. Okay. The blue is going to be in back. Now remember, your elbows don't break, so if you're doing rubber hose arms, you can exaggerate and kind of have it fly out like SpongeBob. In this case, I'm going to do something a little bit more reasonable. Keep it there. Shade in where there is no overlap. Yep. All right. Next to the next contact 1. Again, we're not animating straight ahead. If I see anyone animating straight ahead, I'm going to tell you to come look back at the video. Where in the video, I tell you not to do that. So this is really, really important to get comfortable using pose to pose. And, you know, I'm sorry if like on the video I sound like really cranky or anything. I'm not. I really want to hammer this home that we got to get comfortable working pose to pose. So the only way you get comfortable is by doing it. So in this case, I asked myself, okay, what leg is going forward? It's red, because I'm working on the red arm. That means this arm is now going to start back here. Again, I'm trying to keep the shapes the same size. And now it's on the back half. Blue foot's back, so this blue arm is coming forward. I'm going to shade in where there's no overlap. Next contact, F6 delete. Draw the torso. Again, we're working one body part at a time so we can make sure it's consistent from one pose to the next. So we're going to start with red legs and back again. Red arm is forward. I'm going to move it to the front half here of the torso. It's going to basically suggest a twist. The arm is now in back. See, 1, F6, delete. One more time. 2 more times, technically. If you're finding you're having a hard time drawing the shapes similar enough, make sure you're looking at the previous shape while you draw the one you're currently working on. And your brain will automatically try and make them the same size. Last one. Just so I can have them start to move off the page here. Okay, red foot's in back, so now red arm is forward. So let's take a look. It's going to move forward there. Now we're going to kind of just visualize where things are going. All right, cool. So we always do it in the order of contact passing down, up. So we're going to come here to passing, press F6 delete, and we're going to extend onion skin. Okay, so I'm going to start again, just like we did with the hips. I'm going to draw the head first. And I'm going to draw it just literally right in the middle of the other two so I can best see where it's going to be and position it. And now I'm just going to slightly move it up. Okay, I'm going to draw torso here. Just right in the middle of the other two. It's going to be slightly higher as well. Head on that neck. Now here's where things get a little tricky. I'm going to start with blue this time. Okay, the arm is going to be kind of in the middle here. Okay. So one thing we can see here is kind of this arc. This hand is going to fall on that arc. So basically, I see see the problem here. I drew that shoulder way too low. Look how high the shoulder is on the other ones. There we go. So this blue hand is behind, but we want to know that it's there. Because it's behind the body, I'm not going to shade anything in there. Same thing here, if we imagine an arc. Okay, this is how the arm is going to follow. It's going to follow an arc every time. These are going to be transitioning. And we're going from back to front. So I might position the hand a little further there. So let's do that again. Passing F6 delete. I'm going to draw the head again, right in the middle. Trying to get it the same size, or close enough. I'm going to select it, slightly nudge it up. I'm going to just position it here right in the middle. Same thing with the torso, except I'm going to draw it just a little bit higher to start. Connect it down into the hips. Put that neck on, trying to keep the neck width the same. Okay, so same thing here. Imagine an arc. That's what your arms are going to follow. In this case, the blue is coming forward. Is going back. So I'm positioning the hand a little bit forward here because it's swinging back this way. So just like a swing where your legs kind of kick out when you're on the swing and you're going backwards. That's why the hand's doing that. It's doing the same thing like your hair might on a swing. Next passing. Here right in the middle. I'm going to select it and nudge it up. I'm going to start drawing the torso a little bit higher. Put the neck on there, same thing as before. This time, blue's going back and red's going forward. See, it starts here and ends here. Swing here. So again, this is kind of just one big pendulum. Oops. To press E, not rectangle. So I can select those now, delete them. To the next passing. 6 delete. Just nudge this sucker up a little bit, stick it right in the middle. I'm trying to look at both negative spaces and trying to make that the same there. Alright, so our torso line is somewhere in here, which means I want to start a little bit higher. Okay, blue's going forward this time, so that hand's going to trail behind on this arc. It's going back. Oops, what to do. One last passing again. Head. Position. Just the top of the shoulders, going to draw it a little bit higher. Back this time. Trying to get too low. Red is coming forward. So we can see a little bit more there. We can see the switching of the arms now. Okay, let's come back to timeline. Alright, let's go do our down poses. F6 delete. I'm going to adjust my onion skin here. So here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So I'm going to draw my head right in the middle. Always start with that head. Now the trick is with height, I want it to be height-wise in the middle as well. Kind of going up in this, following kind of this arc of the head where it goes up and down and up and down, so on and so forth. We're going to do the same thing here with the torso. Trying to get it to ease from one position into the next. If you find that this is too much to do with the arms at the same time, do a pass on this layer of just the head, the neck, the torso, and then go back and add arms on top. That can help as well, and that's totally allowed. So, I just forgot something. I gotta go redo my downs. So take this with a word of caution that when you're watching this video and you're following along, you might have to do this too. Remember that this part exists. Memory, memory, memory. So actually on your downs, guess what? Your arms aren't in between. They're actually at their widest at this point because of follow through. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. All right, so time to go through, redraw all this. Okay. How you know I'm recording videos way too late. Alright, so the arms are actually at their most extreme positions here. I'm going to exaggerate this. It's a lot easier to draw than actually in between. Give me that one for free. Okay. Moving back. This one's swinging back wider now. Try not to break the elbow too much. This one is swinging forward wider because of follow through, just like the tail on your pendulum. So our hands are basically just big pendulums, so that's why that happens. I know I mentioned that earlier. I can't believe I forgot that. I am so sorry. Not re-recording the video. I'm in too far. So just bear with me. Easier pose to draw when it is actually coming out here. Because we drew this torso on its own layer, I can select these colors without deleting the colors of the legs. So they're on their own layer. There we go. Now you'll see a big difference. I was like, that wasn't looking right. There we go. That feels a lot better. So this guy's got kind of floppy hands, but it'll get the job done. All right, on to our ups. Now our ups are direct in-betweens, so it'll be pretty similar to what we just did there. Okay. I'm gonna put this here, right in the middle, except this time
that head is going to be on the up line, which means the torso will also be at its highest. Lift that down. These will be more direct in-betweens. However, the hands should come a little bit higher because everything else is higher. In this case here, I'm looking at the position of this. We're following this arc as this arm swings forward. to draw the head again, but it is on the up line. It's not going to be a direct in between, height-wise. Torso is going to be at its highest point. I have a hard time knowing where to put the hand. It'll be somewhere here. So I'm swinging forward. We're not going to sit from behind the leg. So at this point it is mostly just direct in between. It's not like a hyper-specific pose. When you do attitude walks, this pose can be entirely different. So if you make it to challenge mode, you'll get to explore those. Or you get to make your character have a little bit of personality. Not sure how my up poses are actually looking. I'm going to check them super fast. I am suspicious of my tired brain. They're a little short, but, you know, I think it moves so fast it's not going to really matter too much. Okay, let's go finish off this fella. Turn on onion skin again. Again, it's got to go on the up line. Even a smidge higher is okay. Once it's going up. That's right, our character is stepping up. They're pushing off the ground with that toe. Now you might say, Sarah, do I have to draw the blue arm first? No, this is just the way it makes sense to me. Because we're on the up pose, everything's going to be a little bit higher, even on that swing. That's what's been going on. Alright.
What I did here is I actually drew these arms too long. They shouldn't be lower. We're on an up pose. So I'm just going to come back here. Resize that. So it is following an arc, but that arc is going up and down because the character is up and down. Big brain moment. There we go. Finish the other one. I did not. Let's finish this other one. Oh boy, thank you for sticking with me. It's been a heck of a day. Alright. Alright, so let's take a look at this fella now. Ooh, he moves! It's not the prettiest walk I've ever drawn, but it gets the point across. This is a super duper basic. Alright, so we're almost done. I'm not going to do the full part of this last set that we need here for your project. So again, our project, we have 3 sets. We completed 1/3. Here's the second third. Second third goes a lot faster if you didn't mess up on the arms like I did. Don't know where my brain is, but at least you got to see that happen because that might be something you experience as well, and then you have to go back and do the same thing I kind of did. So what we're going to do now is we're going to shift select, rough hips 2, torso with arms 2, and notes 2. Okay. I'm going to press duplicate layers. We're going to move up. So this is going to be notes 3, torso with arms 3, hips 3. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to put this on march time. If you recall from our lectures, march time is when each step takes 3 frames. And we're going to just do this on 1s. Okay, so now we need to put it on 3s. Right now it's on 2s. So I'm going to select down. Oops, too far. Move this so I have a little bit more control. Select down just this top 3 rows. If it helps, you can kind of, don't know how you would visualize this a little bit differently. You do that, so you can see here on the sides a little bit more. It's just this the top 3 rows. F5, 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 oops, I accidentally selected too much. F5, 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 F5. Just gonna do this. So now we're ready to in between on 2. So you can already see the difference in speed here from the previous one, how much slower it is. People usually walk on this time. So what we're gonna do now is you're gonna go ahead and pick a layer to in between on. It really doesn't matter if it's rough hips 3 or torso arms 3. If you want to make a brand new layer for in between, you can do that. I think it helps to see, have it on the same, one of the same lines. So I'm going to press F6, I'm going to unlock this. I'm also going to unlock rough hips 3. Now the reason I'm unlocking both of these is because I need onion skin for both. Onion skin only works with layers that are unlocked. If it helps, you can just make another keyframe here. Okay, so guess what? We got to come down and press delete. We got to clear it on that frame. I'm going to turn off visibility on all my others. Okay, I'm putting this up here so I'm not looking at them. So now here's the tricky part. We have to look at this and we have to go, okay, with every body part here. Now you can see not all my forms are perfect. There's a little bit of wobbling. That's okay. Just focus on one body part at the time. But we need 2 in-betweens. We need to imagine this a 1/4 of the way over. So there is that. Okay, so in this case, maybe I'll have the toes still kind of be on the ground and the foot still coming up. And maybe I'll have this not be quite so there. So here we have to kind of use our imagination to imagine 2 in-betweens in that space. Okay, this is fine, it's not that different. So, now if we imagine something in the middle here, we gotta imagine something in the middle of these 2. This is actually gonna be where we're at. We're kind of doing a straight ahead in between pass now. So there's that for the arm. Let's take a look here for the leg. Just kind of eyeball it. Doesn't have to be a perfect in between. Even a perfect, 1/4 in between. Here with the toe, we can imagine like 2 markers, separating them. That can kind of be an easy way to figure out where to put that down. Okay. Now we're going to come over here. We're going to make 2 keyframes down. F6, delete. So again, we have to clear that. Now I can move my onion skin, so we're just seeing what we had drawn just before, and then the next frame over. This will allow us to in between this directly in the middle. Which is quite handy. We're going to focus on one body part at a time. In between that, in between the neck now. We're going to in between these hips. Let's focus on one color at a time. It's in between this here. We're going to in between this here. Between the hand. We're going to follow kind of this line here for the top of the leg. Imagine, the angle here, angle here. Our angle is going to be something like that. Our foot is going to be halfway up here, so maybe the toe is just barely leaving the ground, whatever that might be. In between the top of the thighs here. This is usually the second in between's a lot easier because it's more direct. It's easier to visualize. It's just that first one that's a little tricky. It'll get easier the more you do it. now we have a really smooth little motion there. I'm gonna do a few more examples of this, and then I'm gonna call it good for this. So again, I'm gonna try and explain it as best I can. It's not gonna probably make the most sense, but just hang with it. It'll make more sense the more you do it. So again, we're gonna imagine the in-between here. But you know, if we hold this, we can kind of see a ghost of where it last was. Put that in the middle of those. Because again, we need two in-betweens. So we don't want it to be perfectly in the middle, because that's where the next one will go. It'll be in the middle of the one we're just drawing right now, and then the green one over here, the future one. So I can kind of ghost that into place. That might be the easiest method of doing this if you're having a hard time. Use the lasso to select that ghosted into place. Throw on the neck. Alright, let's focus on one color at a time. Okay, so again, we're not going to put this right in the middle. We're kind of just aiming for not quite there. So this is where it can be a little confusing too, because this arm is moving backwards in space, even though we're going forwards in time. So remember, it's going to end up in the middle of the body. So that's kind of important to remember. We want a little bit of space to leave there. This will be a little bit easier on this passing pose to kind of visualize a quarter of the way there. Heading towards the middle of the body, and not quite of an equal in between yet. Set here. I select both these frames, F6, delete. Okay, adjust my own skin. Again, focusing on just one shape at a time. Now we can do direct in-betweens, because we filled out that previous one. It's going to be a little bit easier and faster. So on and so forth. I do have an older example on the drive that works pretty well with some different limb styles, which I prefer. They're a lot more organic and cartoony. And again, I wanted to show how we could do it this way, different shapes. There isn't too much of a difference here with these arms. They are starting to swing back to the middle of the body. Starting to come forward a lot more. That foot's going to be basically halfway between. This red leg's not going to have too much different here, because again, it is our stepping foot. It's the one on the ground. So at some point it's going to be pretty solid. Body. There we go. So just to showcase these few here. So it's happening pretty fast there. You can see how smooth the motion we do have is. So even if it doesn't look perfect on each individual frame, once it's in motion, we're not going to really notice that too much. And we're going to do that all the way down this third pass. We're just going to in between to our heart's content. So this is a little bit longer of a project, but you know, it really shouldn't take too much longer than, you know, 2 hours at most if you're working slow. So it is a pretty short exercise still, but obviously there's a lot of moving parts here. There's a lot to look at. There's a lot of visual things that can get really confusing really quickly, especially if we don't slow down while we work and really kind of just focus in. Well, there we have it. Again, there's more examples on the drive. I will also seek to finish out the in-betweens on this and upload this file as well sometime here within the next few days. And thank you guys so much for making it through this video. Oh my gosh, I'm recording this way too late. I am like super out of it. But thank you, and I'm so excited to see your walks across the page.